Howdy lay do. I think my mic's working, right? Yeah. Cool. This isn't needed. It popped in my brain because I saw this speech and I was like, I could respond to that. He's rather deontological. He's against hunting, so I'm sure I'll have some critiques and some points of agreement. Some points where I reframe things. So it's just kind of like, yeah, why not? Why not? Respond to the most important speech you will ever hear. And then hear a negative utilitarian respond to it. So, yeah. Slash painist. Painism. Yeah.
Might be new to some people right now, and it's vegan. It's up there on the screen, VEGAN. Vegans, like vegetarians, do not consume the meat of any land or marine animal. Vegans, however, unlike vegetarians, also refrain from eating cheese, milk, eggs, honey, or any animal product whatsoever. We also don't wear animal skins, no fur, leather, wool, silk, or down. Now, I want to let y'all know that I was not raised vegan. I ate meat, cheese, milk, and eggs for around 25 years. I used to wear leather shoes and belts and jackets like everyone else. In fact, around 20 years ago, I even owned a fur coat. Needless to say, I understand your lifestyle. It used to be mine. And for people involved in politics, let's get this out of the way right now. I am not a Democrat, an anarchist, or some hippie with a closet full of tie-dye shirts. I'm not a Republican, a socialist, or a fascist. I'm an activist. Root word is active. I've been banned from 5 countries so far and arrested 13 times for random acts of kindness and compassion on behalf of my animal brothers and sisters. If you want to read up about that, check out my website. And today, I would love to give you a chance to actually do something and truly get involved. Because I understand a lot of people want to get involved. Honestly, I do. But putting a coexist bumper sticker on your car, wearing a What Would Jesus Do bracelet, or sporting a peace and love and sunshine t-shirt, that is not getting involved. I understand that we're all on a journey in life. We all have different likes and dislikes, different nationalities and religions too. But there's one thing that we need to have in common with each other, and that's peace. Genuine compassion and genuine peace for our planetary companions. Contrary to political and religious dogma, animals do not belong to us. They are not commodities. They're not property, and they're not inanimate, stupid objects who can't think and feel. That Descartes Cartesian way of looking at animals like they're machines, it is outdated and, quite frankly, 100% insane.
Well, they're not like machines in the sense that they don't feel, but I mean, in a way, I'd say humans are machines also. When I say like animals are machines, I mean like humans are machines too. We're just like slightly more intelligent machines. We're machines that can understand we're machines and that we feel despite being on an automated program we have no control over. Our limbs may move, but to be pilot them, no. So it's kind of just like, I don't know, when I say like we're robots, it's just kind of like applies to animals, applies to us, but that's just me being a determinist, basically.
Because if we all understand that animals can use their eyes to see, ears to hear, noses to smell, mouths to eat, legs to walk, feathers to fly, fins to swim, genitalia to procreate, bowels to defecate, I'm always perplexed that most people don't believe that they can also use their brains to think, feel, be rational, be aware, and be self-aware. Am I supposed to believe that every body part on an animal functions just like it's supposed to, except the brain? Those lies are thick. The propaganda from the animal abusers is enormous. I mean, when was the last time you turned on TV and saw a commercial for shiitake mushrooms? People singing and dancing down the streets, having a good time, eating mushrooms. How about alfalfa sprouts? Quinoa, it's a seed. Radishes, raspberries, tofu. You don't see that stuff advertised on TV. What do you see instead? Have some more meat. Have some more cheese. Have some more cheese on your meat. Meat, cheese, double cheese, extra cheese. And how about a little more cheese with your meat? Have some more cow's milk. Have some more eggs. And then what do you see interspersed between those advertisements? Not feeling so well? Need to see a cancer specialist? How about a heart doctor? Need some Lipitor, Zocor, Crestor, Plavix. Need some diet pills? How about some energy drinks? Some Kaopectate, Tums, Pepto-Bismol. You've been duped. They're killing you. They're killing the animals, and they're killing this planet. And those blinders are on nice and tight. But if you give me an open mind today, that's all I ask for, an open mind. I'm going to take your blinders right off. My goal is simple. All I want to do is reconnect people with animals, awaken some emotions and some feelings and some logic that has been buried and suppressed intentionally by our society. And the reason why I say reconnect, it's because each and every person in this room used to be a real animal rights person at one time, a true animal lover, and a real friend of the animal kingdom. And it's when we were kids. When we were young,
I was a real asshole when I was a kid. Let me tell you, I didn't give a shit about animals when I was a kid. I would run home from school grinning and grab a magnifying glass, and I'd burn ants alive and other little insects. When it comes to actual animals, not exactly the most friendly to them either. I mean, I was nice to the family pet to some extent, but you know, I'm a psychopath. You know, it's just kind of how it is. So I'm not exactly a friendly fellow to those who are weaker than me. So it is what it is. I'm a better person now. But you know, Gary does have a point. Most people have empathy for animals when they're a child, unless you're me. Then you just kind of pick on them and be a little dickhead.
we were kids, man, we used to be in awe of animals. They used to make us laugh and giggle and smile.
Oh, that was in awe of animals. I want to work
there
in
was
the
a time
zoo,
in our lives
but
when we would do just
like
about
them.
anything in the world to make them happy as well, to protect them from cruelty, or to at least acknowledge the cruelty they were receiving. I mean, if somebody was mean to an animal in front of us when we were little, we would have screamed and cried. And that's because we all used to understand right from wrong when it came to the treatment of animals, until somebody told us and taught us differently. You better believe somebody told us to ignore their suffering, to mock and excuse their pain and their misery, to make fun of their very existence. And this is something I want you to focus on today, tomorrow, and beyond. What in the hell happened along the way? Who taught us to be so mean and nasty and vicious and hateful, or indifferent towards animals when they used to be our friends? These are innocent beings who have done nothing wrong to us. Because I'm pretty sure we can all agree on at least one thing right now, that hatred in its purest form is a learned behavior. Racism, sexism, heterosexism, anti-Semitism, misogyny, these are all learned behaviors. When kids are 2, 3, 4 years old playing on a playground, they could care less about the color of their friend's skin or their religious background. I don't think there's any doubt that hatred in its purest form is learned. So speciesism is no different. This could be a new word to a lot of people. It's up here on the screen, right below vegan. It's the word species with an ism attached to it. And I want to define this word as the unethical, unprincipled point of view that the human species has every right to exploit, enslave, and murder another species. And all because we believe that our species is so more special, so more superior than the other ones. We're the only ones that count, and we're the only ones that matter. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but that line of thinking, that thought process, That is the basis of all forms of discrimination. One group saying thinking they're more special than everyone else, and they proceed to exploit them, oppress them, deny them their right to be free. They treat them like property. They enslave them in many cases, and in many other cases, they murder them with premeditation and without penalty. And understand something essential about discrimination. It is never okay to be picking and choosing which forms of discrimination to be opposed to. Which ones to say are evil, racism, and which ones to say are okay, speciesism. Discrimination is evil on its foundation, or it's not. You cannot have this one both ways. It doesn't work like that. I want to ask you to use some empathy right now. And when I say empathy, what I'm saying is place yourself in the position of...
Well, as a utilitarian, I must say I'm okay with discriminating against like some groups, when it comes down to it, the only thing that's wrong in and of itself is causing unnecessary suffering. So I'm okay with like discriminating against racists. Like you brought up racists, like fuck them, like there's the KKK. Fuck everybody in the KKK, you know how some people say, yeah, I'm sure some of them are nice people, they're just misguided. No, fuck all the people in the KKK. Trump supporters, spit. When it comes down to it, pedophiles, spit. The maps, spit. It's just like there are people that I'm willing to just be like, I'm willing to discriminate you as a group. Like, just like if you fit into this category, fuck you. Republicans, fuck them. Libertarian right, fuck them. Islam, I'm just saying, like, I'm just saying.
The animals and start to view this issue from the animal's point of view, from the victim's point of view. When you examine any form of injustice, whether humans are victims or animals are victims, please remember the victim's point of view. If you are not the victim, don't examine it entirely from your point of view, because when you're not the victim, it becomes pretty easy to rationalize and excuse cruelty, injustice, inequality, slavery, and even murder. But when you're the victim, things look a lot differently from that end. Now I want to show a graphic 4-minute video right now about what goes on inside of a slaughterhouse. I want to ask you not to turn away, not to close your eyes during this video. It's because if you choose to eat meat, cheese, milk, and eggs, I think at least you are obligated to see the pain and suffering you are causing. But if you do feel a need to turn away or close your eyes during this video, you might want to ask yourself a question. If it's not good enough for my eyes, then why is it good enough for my stomach?
Why'd you burn those ants? Wow. Well, my friend, playing God is so much fun. Having the magnifying glass and just watching them just bazillion times taller than them, just able to crush them in your hands, but instead you choose to end their life slowly, to not even have the fine point of the light like focused on them right away. First it's just like this bigger point, and it's just kind of like the heat is just bearing down on them. They run, but you are their god. So big they can never comprehend, a cosmic horror in comparison, controlling the very light of the sun that gives them life, becoming death itself. And you chase them around with the little light, and they're in misery and pain. And then you focus it down, and then just lower it just a little wee bit. The point just focusing around their back. You feel the burning of, you smell the burning of flesh, and their body wriggles around. You see the agony you can cause to such a little creature, and the world is blind to it. Well, my parents, I saw, and they were like, he's a little fucking psycho. He needs to stop that. Like, after a while, they told me to stop. But, like, still, the point is, why did I do it? Because power. I wasn't like bullied or anything as a kid. It's just like, when you're a psycho, you just like to be able to cause misery to things. Like I would literally like go. I was in elementary school and I'd like imagine like having like a little Star Wars like laser blaster and like shoot people for the fun of it. Like I was like a psychopathic motherfucker like my whole life, man. Still am. I just don't like my cruel person anymore. But when I was a kid, like before empathy was kind of not empathy, but like cognitive empathy was forced upon me, like understanding of people's pain and like that it kind of was equal to my own. Before I had that understanding that other things suffered and that their value was equal to my own, I kind of just didn't give a shit, and I still didn't give a shit. But like when I like didn't give a shit and was willing to like bully other life forms. So, but then eventually, like by the time I like arose into like adulthood, I eventually began to like care about cognitive like empathy and like effective empathy a little bit more, and yeah, all that jazz. Long story short, now I actually care, a little bit, and I care a lot cognitively. But when I was a kid, didn't give a shit at all, and would totally torture the fuck out of little ants and bugs, and would pick up spiders and look at them and be like, "Wow, little cool creature," and then like crush it and shit. Like I just didn't give a shit. I was like a little fucking American psycho. Like if you were a bug, you best be scared.
Did you ever wonder why McDonald's and Burger King and Wendy's never show you those images in their TV ads? Instead, they show you smiling cartoon caricatures of animals singing and dancing and playing, lying to you, brainwashing you, programming you not to care about things you would normally care about, things that you used to care about. Right now, at this very moment, on American highways, there are no less than 5,000 concentration camp trucks. Trucks that we've constructed. Inside these trucks, there are living, terrified, innocent beings, cows and pigs and chickens. These trucks are being driven to concentration camp slaughterhouses that we've carefully constructed all across America. When the trucks arrive, the animals are so frightened, they won't even get off the truck. They're not stupid. They know what's next. So people go on the trucks with electric prods and force them to walk down the chutes to their own death. Or if the animals are small enough to manhandle like chickens, we'll just grab them off the trucks and toss them inside. Inside, these innocent living beings are hanged upside down, fully conscious. In other words, they go in alive against their will and come out chopped up into hundreds of pieces. But you know what's more insane than that? Meat eaters. Walking around like their lifestyle isn't causing any harm. Like it's normal and natural to be consuming violence and death. How would you feel if the day that you were born, somebody else had already planned the day of your execution?
Well, let me tell you, I'm sorry to inform you, Gary, but your parents have done that. They may not have the day planned out, but it's an abstract one they show is like, 80, 120 years. Sure, that's good enough. You don't care.
That's what it's like to be a cow, a pig, a chicken, or a turkey on this planet. I think this type of behavior is inexcusable and unbecoming of a species that claims to understand right from wrong. The animals have not done one single thing to us to deserve the wrath and the cruelty that we hurl on them. And I hope y'all understand what I'm offering you today. When you hit the door after my speech, are you aware that for the first time ever, you can now directly participate in ending a massacre? Instead of sitting around and paying lip service to all the massacres and all the problems that are always going on this planet. What is so frustrating to me when I travel this country, doing around 250 lectures every year to some 7,500 students, is that everybody talks a good game. I've noticed that people are quite the smooth talkers when it comes to peace and compassion. And people always want to tell me, never show me, just tell me how peaceful they are because of what they believe in. Or what makes them sad. Hey, Gary, I believe in God, and I believe in angels, and I pray all the time. And those earthquakes, the one in Chile and Haiti, so
honestly,
sad.
man, I agree with Gary. Like, fuck meat eaters, fuck all these religious people. They're all hypocrites. Like, oh, it's so sad. And then they bring people into the world to experience more earthquakes, more shit. And they see some animal getting like torn apart. And like, oh, that's so sad. And then they eat a burger. Just like. Or like it's just like I don't know. People are just hypocrites, like left and right. They're just idiots. It makes me pissed. So yeah, it's like
Shit was sad.
no shit.
Since when does feeling sad about an obvious tragedy or believing in something make the world a better place or make somebody a good person? And listen, folks, I am not trying to dog you out when I talk like.
There's so many people who are like, I don't feel happy when I buy a burger. I don't want the animals to die. I just want the taste pleasure, and it's more convenient. Yeah, well, fuck you and your feelings. I don't feel an ounce of things. I don't feel anything. I haven't felt empathy for basically anyone besides Shamira in years, like true empathy. I haven't felt like really sad for people in a long fucking time. I just couldn't care about most of you all. You aren't worth my time. I don't have respect for you all. You aren't in my in group. But I respect you all in like a cognitive sense. I understand you're equal in value to me, the people I care about. And hence, I treat you with like basic decency if you deserve it. So it's kind of like, yeah, it's like people's emotions are so fucking useless. They're not an indicator of how you should treat others whatsoever. People are disgusting.
Like this. I'm just not a politician. I'm not a bullshit artist. I don't know how to schmooze people, as you can see. It's kind of beyond me. I hope you appreciate my honesty and my genuineness today. And I'm not a salesperson. I got no books to sell you after my lecture. No DVDs and no documentaries. No collection plate going around. I don't want your money. I don't want your email addresses, and I don't want your mailing addresses. Keep all that stuff. I am here to talk about the worst form of cruelty and violence taking place on this planet, even though most people don't seem to care about it. But when you sit back in the comfort of your living room and you start condemning atrocities elsewhere, that is pure, unadulterated lip service. That's the definition of lip service. But veganism, this is now a chance to actually walk the compassionate talk that everybody's always talking about. This is your chance to show others how truly peaceful you are. This is a chance for a personal revolution, to leave your mark on this planet by causing the least amount of harm possible. Always. being vegan. Now, come on. What's the argument for not causing the least amount of harm? Inconvenience? Indifference? Apathy? Selfishness? I want you to know, I don't live in Fantasyland. I'm well aware that animals are suffering and dying just because we're here on the planet with them. We build homes through their habitat. We pollute their environment.
What's
Destroy
the
their habitat.
argument for not causing the least amount of harm? Because, unfortunately, the rest of the world does not care. People, but more importantly, animals. Even if every person on the planet universally was vegan, it wouldn't change the fact that there would be 20 quintillion animals tearing each other apart. So, by causing no harm, you allow harm. So that's the thing about negative utilitarianism. Sometimes you gotta crack an egg to make an omelet. So, yeah, I do have an argument against causing no harm. Sometimes you have to harm things to stop harm. You have to kill the rapist to stop the rape. You have to kill the murderer to stop the murder. You have to. It's just how it be, you know? You have to impose your will on things sometimes to stop a greater imposition. It's the way of the world. It's the way of ethics. We all wish we didn't have to do it, you know? I mean, I'm a psychopath. I don't give a shit. But for you normal people, you all wish you didn't have to impose your will on someone else. You wish you could just make the rape just stop. Like, you just be like, please, sir, can't you see it like I see it? It's wrong. And, and they just go, of course. The woman's value is equal to my own. I wouldn't want to be raped. No. Some people are fucking monsters. They don't care. The only way to fix them is a bullet to the fucking head. So, with that being said, veganism. I do have arguments against why you should cause no harm or minimal harm or whatever. So, sometimes you gotta break an egg to make an omelet, so to speak. Metaphorically speaking, I'm against actually having eggs and making omelets. But,
Is there a reason we have to maximize the suffering and maximize the cruelty and the death that they already endure by eating them on top of it all? You want to talk about pouring salt into somebody else's wound. 98%. Now, repeat this stat. 98% of animals who are abused and killed on this planet are abused and killed in and egg industries. This is where all the harm is taking place. And in America, from birth until death, each meat eater consumes around 3,000 land animals and thousands of other marine animals. Those are USDA stats. And I seem to think a lot of people eat animals because we've all been told that humans are carnivores, we're omnivores, we're meat eaters, and we're supposed to be doing this. Are you aware that physiologically, the human body is actually 100% herbivorous? Plant eaters. The length of our intestines are somewhere between 7 to 13 times the length of our torso, our trunk. That's the same length of all herbivore animal intestines on this planet. They're very long. But the length of the intestines on real meat eaters, hyenas, coyotes, bears, tigers, and lions, only 3 to 6 times the length of their torso. They have a short intestinal tract, so they can push through quickly decaying and rotting animal flesh, animal protein, cholesterol, saturated fat, trans fatty acids, which is why it is impossible, I repeat, impossible for any genuine meat eater to ever clog their arteries. Never happens to a real meat eater. What's the number one killer of humans who choose to eat meat, cheese, milk, and egg? Heart disease from clogged arteries, atherosclerosis. Humans and other herbivores, we sweat through our pores to cool ourselves. We don't pant like dogs and cats and lions to cool ourselves down. No claws on the human hand. Claws are a trademark of the carnivore and the omnivore. We have carbohydrate digestive enzymes in our saliva. Only herbivores possess that, meaning we're supposed to be eating tons of carbohydrates like fruits and vegetables. Our teeth, broad, short, blunt, flat, just like the teeth of other herbivores. And before somebody blurts out, hey, Gary, what about these canines, dog? Most of the herbivores have canines, incisors, and molars. It would not be possible for us to be eating hard fruit like apples without those teeth. Our lower jaw goes from side to side in a grinding, chewing motion like this. We grind and chew when we eat. If you grind and chew when you eat like you all do, you are an herbivore. The jaws of carnivores and omnivores can only go up and down, vertically, grip and swallow. There's no chewing, grinding, side-to-side action. And I'm a fair guy. I mean, if somebody out there truly believes that humans are meat eaters, I'll give you 2 challenges to prove me wrong after class, and please do so if you want. I want you to go outside, locate a squirrel on campus. And when you spot that squirrel, put that carnivore speed into effect that everybody has it. Chase that squirrel down, pounce on him, and catch him in your mouth. No tools, no weapons, no cages. No one's allowed to be a cheater and a fake carnivore with this challenge. And when you are done killing the squirrel in your mouth, be my guest, eat the squirrel. Eyes, nose, face, toes, tail, anus, inner organs, blood, fur, and don't forget about the brains. You don't get to pick and choose which body parts you want to eat, and you don't get to cook it either. If people want to be real meat eaters, I'd love to see people eat raw flesh from the bone, down to the bone, and nothing left but the bones, day after day after day. And challenge number 2, find a 2-year-old child. Place the child in a crib. In the crib, put 2 things, a live bunny rabbit and an apple. If the child eats the bunny rabbit and plays with the apple, send me an email. Would you let me know? Because I'm going to come back and buy everyone in this room a brand new car if that happens. Benzes and Beamers, leather interior too. In fact, next time I'm at Georgia Tech, if that happens, I will eat a steak sandwich in front of everybody. Chase it down with a chili dog with extra cheese.
Do I agree with what? I mean, this challenge is pretty obvious. I mean, obviously, we're not natural carnivores. We're omnivorous / scavengers. We historically ate fruit for a long period of time before we started developing tools to hunt down wear-out animals through long endurance hunting. So yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, we can hunt animals. We don't have a need to hunt animals. We can survive off of fruits and vegetables. We obviously have very poor hunting abilities. That we're herbivores. I don't know if we're herbivores per se. There's some evidence that like we're historically like herbivores or like fruit eaters, but you know, there's also evidence that we're omnivorous to some extent or another. Yeah, he went outside a little bit ago. Yeah. We have like a certain thing that's meant for digesting meat or whatever. I forget what it is. Or like, you know. So I think he's a little bit being just I forget what it is, but one of my friends like said like, oh yeah, but you can technically get like, I'm sure he's probably right. So when it comes down to it, I think we have evolved technically within at least last whatever to eat meat to some extent or another. So I wouldn't say we're herbivores, but we're definitely omnivores. So regardless of us being herbivores or omnivores, I don't think it really matters to ethics, like what you should be, what you should do. I mean, like, historically speaking, we mated with people who were minors. I mean, Romeo and Juliet, just look at that shit. If you look at like religion, you know, historically speaking, we've done a lot of really grotesque things that we understand are not Kuji today. We're like, you know, that's bad. That's a violation of consent. That's risking harm to them. You know, all these things, you know, we understand are not coolio. But when it comes to a diet, it's just like, yeah, man, but it's natural. So, you know, I don't think it really matters if we're herbivores or not. We can be omnivores and still recognize that you shouldn't eat meat, you know, unless there's a good justification, such as like it's already dead, or you killed it because of consequential reasons like primordialism and then ate it. So like, but yeah, let's get into it.
I'll buy me an ice cream and a bag of beef jerky too. And I'll take the jerky and I'll dip it in the ice cream and eat it like that. Now I will not hold my breath on these promises, not that I won't fulfill them, I'm a man of my word, but those things cannot and will not be happening because humans also possess 0 carnivorous instincts. 0 omnivorous instincts when we're born, young and growing up. We're all born vegan. We just acquire a taste for meat, cheese, milk, and eggs after they're forced down our throats during childhood. Now, all I'm asking you to do is something normal and natural anyways. Eat what comes from the earth. Every vitamin, mineral, and nutrient that exists, protein, calcium, iron, potassium, all the things you have in a resource, and it ain't.
Why did we start eating meat? It was a form of calories, my friend. That's why. Times basically we started out just like eating grubs and insects and berries and nuts and shit, you know. then we understood like tools a little bit more, and we could understand we could like trap things, and when other things recently died, that they were still fresh, stuff of that nature. And we could understood that like you could hunt things with tools. If you made like a sharp thing or a rock, you could like throw it at it. So yeah, we eventually started like just taking out small things and understanding they can like make like groups to hunt things and like poke at them and hunt them down slowly. So it's just kind of like, I mean, why did we start eating meat? It's pretty much just like, oh, we could. Like that's about it. Like, times are tough. The wild is always scarcity of resources. If you eat a bunch of berries in a bush, the bush becomes barren. You're gonna have to move somewhere else to your berries. So it's just kind of like, it's just how it be. It's just like if there's a rabbit in the area and you can just make a sling rope trap or whatever, or one of those like rock traps where it's like you have a rock, you lean in the air a little bit, it's a big rock, and then you have like a stick below it, and you put some shit there. And then if it knocks it over, the rock crushes it, and you just check that every once in a while, stuff like that. I mean, it's just like, it's not that hard to figure that stuff out. And then once they figured it out, and they were just like, hey, we can eat this. Other things are eating it. Like, I look at that thing over there and I'm smart enough to understand that I can do exactly what it has. It has a mouth. I have a mouth. It eats that thing. I could probably eat that thing. Once you start understanding that and like cooking, like we probably started cooking like vegetables and stuff of that nature before we started cooking meats. So like, so it's probably just like we were like, oh, we can probably cook those things too. And then we cook them and we're like, yeah, they taste pretty good when we cook them. So, so why do we start eating them? Probably because it was convenient. Just because it's convenient, though, doesn't mean it's right. So, I mean, I don't really know. I'm just talking on my ass. Like, why did we start eating meat? It's probably just because it was convenient, available, and they could, like, historically take advantage of the opportunity. So, start out grubs and shit, and then upgraded, well, downgraded, I guess.
From the earth. People eat cows after the cows eat up the grass, some of the soil. Then we ship to a feedlot, feed most of our corn, wheat, oats, and soy. Then we take more of the corn, wheat, oats, and soy, shove it down the throats of pigs and chickens and turkeys. Stop filtering your nutrients through somebody else's body. It's illogical and irrational. Go to those sources directly: fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, grains, legumes. These things cannot harm you, cannot cause a disease, and more importantly, they harm no one else in the process. But when we consume what walks, what flies, and what swims, that is abnormal. Where does everybody think diseases come from? Broccoli, asparagus, kale, collard greens, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, peaches, nectarines, grapes, bananas, avocados, onions, tomatoes, cucumbers, spinach. And in case anyone's wondering about those pesky little E. coli salmonella contaminations a couple times a year with the vegetables, let's keep in mind the one and only source of E. coli and salmonella: shit. Human shit or animal shit. Spinach doesn't shit. Broccoli doesn't shit. Peanuts don't shit. Let's stop blaming the plant products when there's an E. coli salmonella contamination. That's the fault of a meat-eating society. Why? Well, meat eaters want billions of land animals to eat, so we have to mass produce billions of land animals. Keep in mind, this has nothing to do with God, nothing to do with evolution anymore. This is a business. This is Smithfield, ConAgra, Purdue, Tyson, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, KFC. That's why we have animal agriculture classes in college. So when we mass produce billions of land animals, they have trillions of tons of manure. That stuff gets in the waterways and then just run off onto the crops, or they're putting feces, contaminated water, directly onto the crops. But all of our main diseases, heart attacks, and strokes. Most of the cancers: prostate cancer, colon cancer, breast cancer, pancreatic cancer, ovarian cancer, kidney disease, diabetes, osteoporosis, high blood pressure, obesity, asthma. 4 main factors that cause them. Now, I know about other factors. I'm not saying that you can't get sick elsewhere. Of course you can. Smoking, drinking, stress, chemicals in the environment, high fructose corn syrup, Twinkies. I know about the other things that can lead to an ailment, but the 4 main factors are found inside of meat, cheese, milk, and eggs: cholesterol, saturated fat, trans fatty acids, animal protein. And I'll repeat that last one that nobody wants to hear about: animal protein. But when you go vegan, did you know that you eliminate cholesterol entirely from your diet? You can only get cholesterol from meat, cheese, milk, and eggs. And your body makes cholesterol on its own. That's the only such thing as good cholesterol. If you bring it in from an outside source, it's automatically bad cholesterol. You can take out around 95% of saturated fat when you go vegan, and you can take out all the naturally occurring trans fatty acids too. Keep this in mind, between 2 to 9% of all meat and all dairy naturally comprised of trans fatty acids. And you can obviously take out all of animal protein. Now, animal protein is way too acidic for the human body. We don't process it properly. It is the main reason why 1 in 3 meat eaters continually get cancer. And it's one of the main causes of osteoporosis. Were you aware that when animal protein enters the human body, it makes our blood acidic instantaneously? But our blood can't stay acidic for long or else we die. So our body has to figure out instantly how to neutralize the acidity. I have some good news and some bad news. Let's start with the good. Our bodies have figured out how to neutralize the acidity. Bad news. There's only one way to make it happen at this point, with phosphate. There's only one source of phosphate in the human body, bones. Just so you know, our bones are comprised of 2 things, calcium phosphate, and they're bonded together. So our body leaches calcium phosphate out of the bones, takes the phosphate to neutralize the acidity, and then we pee out the calcium. This is why every single epidemiological study, those are the ones done on human populations, every single one shows that societies that consume the most amount of animal protein have the worst rates of osteoporosis, bone fractures, and cancers. While societies that consume little to no animal protein, the vegan and vegetarian ones, Hindus, Buddhists, Jains, Rastafarians, Seventh-day Adventists, have little to no rates of osteoporosis, bone fractures, and cancers. And so we don't get into a debate during Q&A about different medical studies that are out there. A lot of times when people know I'm coming to class in advance, well, they'll spend a few hours online looking up studies, print it out, wait for Q&A, and go, hey, Yourofsky, I got a study here that contradicted everything you told us today. What's up with that? Well, here's what's up with that. You don't need a medical study to show you what people are dying of. But for the record, every study you can produce showing that humans need meat, cheese, milk, and eggs, I'll produce 2. 2 to 1 ratio. Showing
Grubs and other insects, you know, like scavenging for like things underneath like rocks, logs, you know, probably got like lizards and shit too, you know, once we started realizing that like, oh, those things are edible, you know. Like, I don't fucking know, like little tiny creatures basically.
Milk and eggs are responsible for every major disease. But we all know medical studies can be manipulated either way. So even though I got a heavy 2 to 1 edge on this, I say toss them all out because you don't need them. All you have to do is pay attention to this meat, cheese, milk, egg-eating society that we all live in. So how many of your family members and your friends' family members have a disease already or have died already from a disease? Because I can't be the only one affected by this. My grandfather died from a heart attack. My grandma died from a stroke. My Uncle Jack died from a heart attack. And last October on the 15th, I got a call around midnight that my father had just died from a heart attack. My mom, she's got asthma. My stepdad's got heart disease so badly he takes 7 pills for breakfast. My best friend Darren, 4 of his aunts and uncles have died from diabetes. His ex-girlfriend Rita has breast cancer at 40 and she's dying. Just found out a few months ago that his current girlfriend Dion has ovarian cancer. And yesterday my girlfriend just found out that her father has prostate cancer. What's the one thing we all have in common with each other besides the air we breathe and the water we drink? Meat, cheese, milk, and eggs. Animal products all day long. And I know you can blame some of the cancers on environmental pollution. There's no doubt about that. But how are you going to blame heart attacks and strokes on environmental pollution? And diabetes, osteoporosis, obesity? Here, I'm going to break this down for you in a couple different ways today. I'll show you what's killing people, and I'm going to show you who's lying to you too. Flat out, bold-faced lies. Let's come to an agreement on the dairy industry. And let me know if I'm being unfair with this. I want to know. According to the dairy industry itself, the main reason they exist is so you can get calcium. Fair? Is that not their entire claim? Eat some cheese, drink some cow's milk, strong bones, strong body. Milk does a body good. Got milk? Check it out with the USDA. In America, we consume the most amount of dairy on the planet. Right here, you can't even get a sandwich anymore without cheese. We put cheese in every nook and every cranny of every single food item. We put it inside the pizza crust now. We put cheese on top of salads, too. You can't even get salad anymore without cheese. And if you'd like to find salad minus the cheese, what's the first thing people say to the waiter? Hey, can I get some ranch or some Thousand Island? Can you pour some dairy on these vegetables for me? So in this society where everybody is hooked on cheese, I mean hooked like it's been laced with weed, crack, ecstasy, morphine, and the antidote. Most people can't even fathom one meal, let alone one day or a lifetime without cheese. In fact, if you want to know why vegetarians never go vegan, cheese. Cheese on a baked potato, cheese on the broccoli, cheese on everything inside. Even lactose intolerant people eat cheese. And I don't care what anybody says about this. They might avoid straight up cow's milk, but slap a double cheese pepperoni pizza down in front of a lactose intolerant person, no hesitation, right down the hatch. So we got all these animal products going into our diet. Do you ever wonder why there are no less than 3 TV commercials being run for calcium supplements? Actonel, Boniva, Citracap. You got to be kidding me. Calcium supplements in America? How come there's osteoporosis at all? How come at the vitamin stores, I say plural stores, is when I travel the country, boy meat eaters pull me aside all the time and say, hey, Gary, we eat meat because you get everything you need from meat. All the vitamins, all the minerals, all the nutrients. Well, how come in this meat, cheese, milk, egg eating society that we all live in, every city has not only 1, but 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 vitamin stores? How come Rite Aid, CVS, and Walgreens now have complete vitamin sections too? With a whole shelf devoted to calcium supplements. I thought everybody was getting calcium from the animal products. That's what the meat and dairy people say. Newsflash, you don't. Animal protein won't allow it. Animal protein makes your blood acidic, so your body takes calcium phosphate out of the bones. Phosphate to neutralize, calcium gets excreted through the urine. There are 4 commercials for fiber: Metamucil, FiberCon, FiberSure, and Betafiber. If people ate a friggin' apple or a pear once in a while, nobody would need help taking a shit. Now pay attention and look around and see what's going on. Now, with all this being said, we've established the 4 reasons why people eat meat, cheese, milk, and eggs. No debating, no discussing it. Habit, tradition, convenience, tasty. Yeah, I know why people do it. I did it for 25 years myself. We don't do this to be ethical and stay healthy. That's obvious. And we don't do this to help the environment out either. 2 quick things on the environment. And by the way, go to my website, click on all about veganism, click on the environment section. World hunger and environmental pollution. Root cause of world hunger, meat-eating societies. 65% of the world's grains are set aside every year to feed 53 billion land animals that are killed every year on this planet, and tens of billions of marine animals. We got fish farms nowadays. Instead of using those crops for 6.5 billion people. Do the math on this. You don't have to be Einstein to figure this equation out. And again, environmental pollution, air pollution, water pollution, deforestation, greenhouse gas emissions. Number 1 cause is animal agriculture. Now, I want to get back to taste good, though, because I think meat tastes great. It might shock you to hear me say that, but if you're doing some kind of extra credit essay on my speech and you want to quote me right now. I love the way meat tastes. Love it. Cheese, love it. Cow's milk and eggs, love it. Guilty as charged. I did not stop eating this stuff because of the taste issue. I stopped for ethics, morality, decency, compassion to the animals that I share this planet with. But here's the coolest thing about being vegan in this day and age. It's never been easier. You can have the same smell, taste, and texture of meat, cheese, and milk without it. Nobody has to suffer and die.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, when it comes to the meat, yeah, you can actually have a pretty similar taste. But when it comes to the cheese, not exactly. The milk, not exactly. I mean, to be fair, oat milk tastes better than cow's milk, but it doesn't taste the same. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. You can't get the same taste. But who cares? I mean, it's ethics. You can sacrifice your taste buds for your sensual pleasures, so to speak, your empirical sensual pleasures, for the suffering of an animal. I feel like not bringing something in to be used as a tool to suffer their entire life and then be executed. I feel like your taste buds don't quite justify that. Sensual pleasure doesn't justify that. And if you think otherwise, think of other situations where people might try to inflict the pain on another being, perhaps a woman, for sensual pleasure. Is it justified? No. So, if you wouldn't do it to a human being who has the same cognitive abilities as an animal, why would you do it to an animal?
Dinner anymore, including you. They make all the products you like to eat in a vegan version. They make it from soy and wheat and rice and hemp. I want to show you some of the products that are out there, and I'm not receiving compensation from these companies. These are my selections of best tasting mock meat. I'm going to put them up on the screen so we can all see it clearly. You guys like bacon? Light Life, smart bacon. Bacon made from soy. This company, Light Life, also makes smoky tempeh bacon. Now, tempeh is a fermented version of soy, so it tastes a little different than the other stuff, but keep in mind, I would not recommend products to you if they didn't taste fantastic. I am trying to win you over, so you go veg. I'm not showing you every product we have. Some of our products suck. I'm showing you the best of the best. And when I say some of our products suck, don't act like there are shitty Chinese restaurants, nasty pizza places, and disgusting hamburger joints, okay? It works both ways. If it's made great, no matter what it is, it tastes great. If not, it's going to stink. Light Life also has soy chicken strips and steak strips as well. You also have a full line of deli meats. Turkey, bologna, and ham. You cannot tell the difference by sight, taste, or texture. Small company called Melissa's has chorizo, vegan chorizo. Energy bars, like Cliff bars, Luna bars. A new bar just came out called Pro Bar. Might not have seen that one yet. They're all vegan. And many other companies have a vegan energy bar as well. Now remember, when you go veg, you don't give up anything. You got the vegan version of stuff, or eat things that are truly natural, like fruits and vegetables, or beans and lentils. Like turkey, we got you covered. My favorite product, tofu turkey, stuffing on the inside. Looks, smells, and tastes like turkey. Got to slice it with a knife. But guess what? No turkey had to suffer and die for this. Tofurkey also has tofurkey slices, 6 different flavors of tofurkey slices. Tofurkey also has tempeh strips. Remember I talked about the fake and bacon, the Light Life tempeh? So they have some tempeh products too. Tofurkey also has Italian sausage, beer brats, and there seems to be an addiction in our society for beef jerky. I don't know what the hell is going on with everybody's taste buds. Everybody's lost their minds, but we got you covered. Tofurkey jerky. Anything you're looking for, we got that stuff veganized. And many other companies have a vegan jerky as well. The absolute best company on the market right now is It's All Good Gardein Protein. That is one of their chicken dishes. That is two of their chicken dishes. 3 chicken dishes. They have more chicken dishes. They have steak dishes. And they just came out a few months ago with buffalo wings as well. Trader Joe's, that grocery chain, they want to compete now in the soy meat industry. They made their own brand of soy chicken and soy steak strips. There's a company called Vegetarian Plus, and they have vegan citrus spare ribs. And Garden Burger has had riblets, mock ribs for over 10 years. I can't tell you how many of my meat-eating friends and family members I flat out fooled with this stuff. And this company also has shrimp, kung pao chicken, orange chicken, and tuna rolls as well. I mentioned wheat meat earlier. I don't think people... It is a version of morphine, queso, morphins. That's why people are so hooked on cheese. Got to have their daily fix of morphine. There you go. By the way, when you're looking up that live from the dairy industry and the other ones, I want to look size of the board. Remember that part of the speech earlier about people being hooked, like weed, crack, morphine? Mother cows before birth produce a substance in their milk to make sure that the calf stays close. Actually, human women do this too. It's not morphine, but in cows, it is a version of morphine, queso, morphins. That's why people are so hooked on cheese. Got to have their daily fix of morphine. Does anybody know what an egg actually is from a hen? And don't say embryo or aborted fetus, not even close. It's unfertilized, so it can't be either. Hen is a female, though. Unfertilized egg through a female system. It's part of her menstruation cycle. It's a hen's period. People scramble up hen periods in the morning, and all of a sudden I'm weird because I don't make omelets anymore. And what about vomit? Oh, we're going to take those blinders off today. Come on, you guys love vomit. You adore it all over your food. Gotta give this one a pretty name, huh? No one's going to buy and eat vomit. Unless we call it honey instead. Honey comes directly from a bee's stomach. It is regurgitated right through a bee's mouth. Look it up with any wildlife biologist. But nobody wants to eat bee vomit nut Cheerios. We want honey nut Cheerios. So we got ourselves to play euphemism game. The standard diet of a meat eater is blood, flesh, veins, muscles, tendons, cow secretions, hen periods, and bee vomit. And we're not done yet. I am not going to let you off that easy while I got you here today. You know we top this all off, in my opinion, because every November, during that certain holiday people love so much, people take a dead turkey, open up the dead turkey's ass, or carve out a really big hole in their ass, take some stuffing and shove it inside their dead empty ass, and use their little dead ass as an oven to bake some bread. Somebody else's dead, empty, bacteria-laden ass to make bread? Ass bread? And people think vegans are weird because we eat tofu and rice and beans and lentils. I tell people one of my favorite meals nowadays, yams. Boy, dish me up a plate of yams for dinner, and I'm a happy guy. I know how most people are, though. I tell them this, they're like, "Will you just eat yams for dinner?" I don't know, man, it's kind of weird. Okay, but somebody else's rib cage sitting on your plate isn't weird, doesn't make you think twice. Severed legs, sliced up thighs, and mutilated breasts sitting on your plate doesn't make you think twice. And you want to know why? Those blinders are on nice and tightly, aren't they? And I bet most of you were perturbed at me when the speech began, and I accused everybody of having blinders on. I am not here to be your enemy. I am here to call you out, though. You might have had a pretty good excuse before I got here of being uninformed and misinformed. Okay. That's fair. Honestly, I was the same way for a long time. I'm kind of curious, though. What's the excuse now? You got a choice today. When you leave this room, you can choose to be radically kind, never to intentionally harm another animal for breakfast, lunch, or dinner ever again. And these creatures have never harmed you, violated you, or taken advantage of you in any way, shape, or form. The least you can do is return the favor. Or you can stay radically cruel. Keep the status quo as is. Make sure animals have no freedom. Make sure they never experience one drop of human kindness. Make sure their babies are stolen from them. Make sure their beaks are sliced off, their horns are cut off, and their testicles ripped out. Make sure there's a knife in their throat every second of every day for eternity. I really hope you make the right choice. I want to wrap this speech up so we can do our Q&A session. We need about 6 more minutes to say something on the dairy industry as it pertains directly to cows. We talked about the pus in cow milk, which is gross. We talked about the unhealthiness of consuming dairy products, but we have yet to focus on what the cows are going through. Keep in mind, veganism isn't about your health. That would be selfish. I'm trying to get people to be unselfish for a change, to be altruistic, do something kind for somebody else, and when you do that, don't expect something in return. But when it comes to cruelty, I think there's more cruelty in a glass of milk than a steak. I want to make my case visually and verbally. You're only the 11th class to see what I'm about to show. This just went down a few months ago in Plain City, Ohio, at a mom and pa dairy farm. There we go, yeah. Hey, you're fun. You're fine. Put your feet up. Yeah, you're fine. Oh, you're boiling right. Oh shit, you break it down. Stand the fuck still. Okay. I get going. It's just like, oh, it feels good. Look, you fucking come on, get your head out of here. We beat the fuck out of this guy. We stabbed her. I broke her tail. We kept stabbing her ass, beat her. Next day, Gary said, we're going to send her a beat. Because she had mastitis on her. Couldn't get her in the parlor. Beat the fuck up. I mean, I drunk that cow in the farm. I beat that fucker to her face. Like this big around. Turn your head, fucker. Turn your ass. Turn your ass. Come on. Fucking try this, yes. Oh, I got a bad. My blood pressure's up. If I don't think they're feeling any pain, I just keep going until the cows are. Oh, I'm like, yeah, that's it. This is not an isolated incident. Don't for 1 minute think that this is an isolated incident. This is how slaves are treated. You don't really think that slaves get treated nicely, do you? You really think white people were nice when they shipped black people over here on ships? You don't think Nazis were nice when they walked Jews and gypsies into the gas chambers, do you? And this happens because you want to buy those products. Yeah, that guy's a scumbag for doing that. But he's doing that because you want to eat what comes out of her body. And enough already. You're not a caveman and you're not a cavewoman anymore. Stop acting like Neanderthals. This is 2010. Give it up. It's not cute and it's not funny because animals are being abused. It is not your right. It is not your freedom to do this to them. You don't get to have freedom when somebody else doesn't. That's a violation. And if you wonder why vegans get so upset sometimes, like I am right now, you just saw some of it. Every time we show up at a farm, somebody's punching, kicking, and stabbing somebody. And something else that I'm curious about, how come when I show videos like this of people punching and kicking animals, people are more upset with that than when they shove a knife in their throat? So even if you find a farm where they're not punching and kicking, when they shove a knife in their throat or put a bullet between their eyes, how is that not cruelty? Did you know that 90% of hamburger meat in America comes from the dairy industry?
Well, when it comes down to it, ending life is not bad, Epicureanism, blah, 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 primordialism, blah, blah, blah. Bringing things into existence to then execute them, not doing them much of a favor, is it now? I mean, you kind of cause them to go into the circumstance when you can die anyways. So I'm against, that's not a good excuse to bring things into existence. Like, oh, well, but we're doing a favor by ending their life. Yeah, well, the only reason you need to end their life is because life is suffering. So don't bring them into the circumstance of suffering. But, when it comes down to it, yeah, I mean, I don't have no problems with the killing of an animal. I have problems with bringing them into existence, which all farmers do. So
when cows no longer give huge amounts of milk after 3 to 7 years, slaughterhouse, no exceptions. If ever given a chance, cows can live to be 18 to 25. And cows are like all female mammals. I am not trying to talk down to you when I speak about animal issues. It's just that people don't think that animals go through the same things, the same emotions that you go through, that we all go through. In order for a female mammal to give milk, she has to be pregnant. Every year, every cow on every dairy farm is raped. A long steel device shoved in their vaginas to inject them with bull semen, or sometimes they use a bare hand. This forces the milk flow. And after she gives birth, babies are stolen. And let me tell you something, the worst scream I have ever heard, and I've heard them all firsthand. When I started finding out about this stuff a little over 15 years ago, I was like everybody else. I didn't believe it was that bad. I thought everybody was exaggerating. But unlike everybody else who just blows it aside, brushes it off, I actually went to see what was going on. I spent 6 weeks at Thornapple Valley Pig Slaughterhouse in Detroit in 1993. I broke into animal research laboratories. I broke into fur farms. I went behind the scenes of every circus and every rodeo that ever came through Michigan. Worst scream I've ever heard. A mother cow on a dairy farm. As she screams and bellows her lungs out day after day for her stolen baby to be given back to her. And I can only imagine the same scream every woman in this room would make. Somebody held you down after birth and stole your newborn baby from you. And why did we take babies away from their mom? Well, the dairy industry can't have little babies sucking up all that milk that was meant for them when they'd rather sell it to you instead. Every time you have a glass of cow milk, some calf is not. And mother cows make milk for one reason anyways. During Q&A we're about to have, you can ask me whatever you want. I'm no politician. Bring up anything. If you went online before I got here, saw my radical essays, that got me kicked out of countries, bring them up. There's one question. I will not entertain them. You cannot ask me why cows make milk. Thus, if it's good for us. Shouldn't we be feeding it to our kids, Gary? Shouldn't we be having it? Nature took care of this one at the beginning of time. Cows make milk for their babies and for their babies alone. Case is closed forever. Permanently. No debate, no discussion. They don't make milk for baby elephants, baby orangutans, baby hedgehogs, baby rabbits, baby rats, baby humans, adolescent humans, or adult humans. This body of ours has absolutely no need for cow milk, like it has absolutely no need for giraffe milk. And zebra milk, and rhinoceros milk, hippopotamus milk, camel milk, deer milk, antelope milk, horse milk, pig milk, dog milk, and cat milk. The only milk that we ever need is our own mother's breast milk when we're born. That's it. And when we're done weaning, we never need one drop. Soy milk, rice milk, almond milk, hemp milk, coconut milk, oat milk, hazelnut milk. I promise you will like one of those 7 vegan milks. Remember, when you go eat things that are truly natural, like fruits and vegetables, let's do some Q&A. We still have about half an hour for Q&A session. You can ask me to clarify something if it didn't make sense to you. Something in the video. It's going to be cheaper. There's a big myth out there that it's more expensive to be veg. And let me explain this in a couple different ways. First of all, the cheapest things on the market are cruelty-free and vegan. Rice, beans, lentils, pasta, things like that. Keep in mind, this is why poor people, impoverished people around the world, they're vegetarian. Eating meat is a luxury. It's only cheap in America that we subsidize the hell out of it. And
True, sympathetically would be like being cheap doesn't necessarily equate to cheap in a ethical sense. The maybe cheap in terms of the cost of like dollars, but like such as like industry ran slavery, but the cost of pain is going to be a lot higher. Industry ran by slaves in industry where the labor is balanced and voluntary. So, yeah.
I want you to put one thing into the equation that nobody ever wants to put into the equation. Health, pharmaceuticals, hospital business, doctor business, all these pills, all the vitamins, healthcare. That stuff is not created for vegan. Those are meat-eating creations. I'm about to turn 40 in August. I have no healthcare. I take no vitamins. I see no doctor. I don't need to. I eat properly and I exercise. So if you put health into the equation, meat eating is the most expensive diet out there for sure. Also keep in mind, if you do buy processed foods, vegan or non-vegan, you always pay a little extra. If you pay Turtle Island Foods to make you a whole turkey, if you pay Lean Cuisine to make you some kind of meat dish, it's a little more pricier because somebody did it for you. So you can also, if you're really good in the kitchen, make this stuff on your own. I got a recipe section online. I also have a restaurant section and a grocery section too. So you can always look up that stuff. You can contact me, ask me, how do I make this favorite recipe of yours? I will track it down. My girlfriend too is a wonderful chef as well. So keep all those things in the equation. Let me stay over to the pricing. Outback Steakhouse. Some of these meal foods, do they have to go to extra links like add a lot of sodium or corn syrup? There's sodium in there for sure, absolutely. And salt is something that gives things a lot of taste. So you might have to look out if you want to watch your sodium. But I don't want people to be concerned about sodium before you're concerned about animal protein, cholesterol, saturated fat, all the other things. It's kind of pointless. It's kind of like somebody smoking a cigarette in my face and going, "Hey Gary, you should really smoke that weed." I'm like, "What are you talking about? If you're doing something unhealthy, what's the point of trying to find people like something else that might be unhealthy?" Yeah.
From what I understand, basic concept of veganism is not to exploit or harm the beef, right? Everything from say cows to yeast. But what about say if you have to deal with parasites, bacterial infections, diseases, and that? How do you go about treating yourself?
Yeah. Self-defense is an acceptable form of protecting yourself.
That's what I'm say as a doctor in your profession. You have to go in there and you have to kill them.
Kill what, bacteria? So are you founder of people for the ethical treatment of bacteria? The only thing that bothers me when this is brought up is that you want to equate cows on the same level as parasites.
Oh,
Bacteria.
bacteria and yeast.
Okay, but do bacteria harm you most of the time? When they do, they're harmful. You have a right to defend yourself and kill something that's harming you. Now, let me explain this in a different way. If you and I were walking through the woods and a bear attacked you and jumped on you, do you really think I'd be like, oh, too bad, I'm vegan, man? I would beat the shit or try to beat the shit out of you. And get them off you is a self-defense. You were attacked. If some human jumped on you for no reason, I'd also protect you too. If bacteria are killing you and destroying your body, you have a right to destroy the bacteria that's trying to destroy you. Keep in mind, cows do not attack us. Chickens have never attacked a human being in history. Something else I'm kind of curious about, how come we think we're better than chickens when we kill 35 to 40 billion chickens every year on this planet? We've been doing this for thousands of years. How is the murderer more special than the murdered? How is the oppressor better than the oppressed? We got this stuff backwards. We're not better than them. We're the ones attacking them. That makes us less important. That makes us worse. That makes us evil. Yes.
So, say the world population is at 8 billion now, and at least most of the United States is considered meat eaters, right? So, with only a certain population or portion of the world being good farmland or places we can grow food, it just seems to me that if most of the world hit vegan, then it would. I mean, I know you're on the 65% of the grain goes to meat products, but how would we support ourselves without meat products or eggs?
Easily and wonderfully. Let me throw out some other stats. 95% of soy in America is animal feed. 80% of corn in America, animal feed. 70% of oats in America, that's animal feed. If we ate the stuff directly, do you know that 1 acre of land can yield 30,000 pounds of carrots, 40,000 pounds of potatoes, and 50,000 pounds of tomatoes? 1 acre of land can only give you 250 pounds of meat. Okay, we would be using less land, destroying less habitat if we just ate crops directly. Please go to the environment section on my website or go to a website called earthsave.org. Everybody gets fed. Here, let me throw this out there. You know the world's largest Feed the Hungry organization is called Food for Life Global. Please look them up online. When I found out about this group that solely uses vegetarian and vegan food to feed people 2 million meals per day, I found out about them about 10 years ago. I also found the second largest group on the planet doing Feed the Hungry stuff is plenty.org is the website. Both are vegetarian groups. I sent a letter to both presidents saying, oh my God, this is wonderful. Finally, somebody realized you don't have to harm animals to help people. I got letters back that were almost identical. They said something like this: it's not that we do this for ethical reasons. We don't want to argue with you. We don't want to debate you on that. We do this because it's cheaper. And we feed 20 to 30 times the amount of people when we use vegetarian food than when we're choosing. No question, somebody up here?
I agree with you in the vegetables and fruit and all that is really good for you, but I guess would say
Milk have twice the amount of estrogen that's found in soy. But let me break this down for you. So the estrogen that's found in soy is a phytoestrogen, P-H-Y-T-O, plant-based. Phytoestrogens cause no harm to the human body whatsoever. It's animal estrogens that drive the body crazy. But I got some good news for you. If you're really concerned about eating soy, you don't want to do it, don't do it. Eating soy does not mean that you can't be vegan or not eating it. There's wheat meat, or just get down to the nuts and bolts of veganism. Go fruits and vegetables, lentils and beans, and things like that. So you don't have to make soy part of your diet. And if you want to go to my website, I hope you do. I got a brand new section about all the myths out there about soy. A lot of them are being spread by So I went to a mink concentration camp, a fur farm for animals, the Ebert's Fur Farm in Blenheim, Ontario. I'm from Michigan, so Canada's right across the half an hour, 45 minutes away. So I went to this farm, and I opened up the cages for 1,542 mink. Now, mink in the fur industry are killed 2 ways. One,
interesting. You guys are getting some fire in the air. Interesting.
I was arrested, and quickly 540 mink actually escaped that night. Poles were cut in the perimeter fence. There was a little dirt road. And then there were 600 acres of forest. That's all they had to do was get across the street on the way out. Unfortunately, 1,000 mink remained off the ground. For that, they were doomed. All I could give them or anyone else would be a chance to be free. And let's face it, if you're all being held in captivity, you're going to have your neck snap, your skin ripped off your body so somebody else can make a pair of slippers. You'd all be going, man, I hope Gary's coming by tonight. Open up the damn gate, give me a chance. So, I got arrested that night. I was put in maximum security, by the way. I was given a 6-month sentence. I did 77 days before they deported me and threw me out, maybe persona non grata. And let me just tell you a quick little story, too. While I was in jail, I was with some pretty bad people, child molesters, rapists, murderers, people who tried to stab people. They were trying to teach me a lesson. They put me in one of the worst places around. So they put me in the unit, day 1, got a holding unit before they moved me to my unit. And there's a TV set on in the corner. And the alpha male's got the clicker. He's 536, 632. Lead story in Canada that night. International terrorist Gary Yourofsky sent to jail tonight. Gary Yourofsky, international terrorist, sent to jail. I got international terrorist. Never mentioned my name. Michigan, it's Canada. I know the local. So I don't know anybody on day 1. I'm standing in the back of the cell. They're all huddled around the TV. And they finally realize I'm in there with them. One guy's kind of standing like this. Hey, that's the guy back there. He goes, no, that's the guy back there. Now the alpha male gets in and walks up to me, pretty big guy's like, international terrorist? I said, yeah. That's fine, man. You don't look like an international terrorist. I said, maybe it's because I'm the exact opposite. Well, here's what I did. I freaked some mink and the next broken. Now the first thing he said to me, I preached a lot in jail. First thing everybody said to me, like, what the hell's a mink? It's like a big ferret is in the road. The next thing that was always said to me, this is not verbatim, but the intonation is verbatim. It went something like this. Wait a second. They put you in here with us? Because you freed some rats? And the answer was always us. They knew they were with us? I said, no, they put me in here with you because I also caused $2.1 million in damage to the mink farm and put the guy out of business permanently to this day. And we don't tolerate economic sabotage in our society. One more thing I want you to think about. When they first arrested me, they refused to give me bail. They thought I was going to bail out, go back to Michigan, and there's no extradition for mink relations. So I had a 10-day bail hearing. I bring this up as I challenge anyone in this room. Find me a 10-day bail hearing for a rapist, a murderer, or a child molester. Won't do it, but the mink liberator gets 10 days. Now, on day 10, my attorney, Steve Rogan, found out that the same exact judge, Elaine Babcock, that had been denying me bail for 10 days, had just given a man from Michigan 3 weeks earlier $1,000 bail, second-degree criminal sexual conduct. And you're not judges can get when they don't like hear something before she goes flush red top of her voice. She goes, Steve, don't you dare bring that up in my courtroom. That's got nothing to do with this case, and you damn well know it. Now, I'm sitting over in the defendant's box. I can't talk to my attorney now. I'm pacing in my head. I'm going, back down, back down, back down. So he's pacing and pacing. Come on, Steve. And 30 seconds later, he turns and he says, you know what, Your Honor? It's got everything to do with this case. My client tried to stop cruelty, and he wants to go in jail at this point and make a statement on behalf of the animals. You gave that guy from Michigan bail for sexually assaulting a woman, and you won't give my client bail? She looks at me for the first time in 10 days. And I was like, $10,000 back. Now, agree or disagree with law breaking, and I hope you understand everybody that we all collectively admire. Dr. King, Gandhi, Rosa Parks, Henry David Thoreau, Jesus, we're all radical lawbreakers. Every single person on this planet that ever made substantive change was a radical lawbreaker. Even if for some reason you don't think that I should be breaking laws or that people should break laws, you can't tell me it should cost $1,000 to sexually assault a woman for bail and $10,000 to free some rats. Bottom line of this, sexually assaulting a woman doesn't affect the economy. And we just don't care about things that don't affect the root of all evil.
And what got you started in the
Tattoo was me with a mask animal and bunny rabbit, and it says Presto et Persto, which is Latin for I stand in front and I stand firm, and it says ALF, Animal Liberation Front, which is a group that goes around, there's no membership, but anybody that goes around and liberates an animal or destroys a place of torture is considered an ALF member. What got me started was my stepdad is a clown in the Shrine Circus. Takes me backstage when I'm 23, and mind you, I got my blinders on too. I could care less about animals besides the dogs that are in my life or the chipmunk runs by me. But I'm everybody else. I'm into animals. I can care less about cows and pigs and what they're going through. And he invites me backstage and you want to come see the elephants? I'm like, hell yeah, I want to see the elephants. Are you kidding me? Can I bring Wendy with me too? My girlfriend at the time. Yeah, bring Wendy down. So Wendy and I go backstage. We're excited. We're like playfully pushing each other. Like, and we get back there and we just stop dead in our tracks. When you see cruelty in front of your face, you don't need somebody to.
Damn, it's wild.
I knew what I was seeing was evil. 3 elephants were lined up in chains, front left foot, back right foot, each foot, chained up to the cement floor of the warehouse at the Michigan State Fairground. I looked to the left. I saw a monkey screaming and grabbing the bars of his prison. I saw 2 tigers to the right of me pacing pathetically. And I turned to Wendy, part of my language, but I'll tell you exactly what I said. I said, what the fuck is an elephant doing on 8 Mile and Woodward Avenue in Detroit first? She said, I don't know. And we walked up face to face with these elephants. And if you pay attention to energy, and please don't think this is weird. We do this all the time, like with babies and infants. They don't talk and communicate. But a baby starts crying. You're thirsty. You're hungry. You need to be changed. You figured it out. Look at their eyes. Look at their movement. These elephants were swaying like this, neurotic. Now, I'm no elephant expert, but I know that's not elephant behavior. I later found out that's a neurotic behavior every elephant gets in every circus if it doesn't change. In the wild, elephants walk 20 to 50 miles a day. I looked into their eyes. I saw nothing but hopelessness and fear. And I knew something was wrong. So that got me thinking, where did my food come from? Where did my shoes come from? Well, it really goes on in an animal research lab. So that's when I started investigating. I mentioned this earlier. I started going into the Thornapple Valley Pig Slaughterhouse. I started going to animal research labs. And I fought it at first, like everybody does, like most people do. I didn't want to stop eating animals. What else am I going to eat? Salads all day long? I mean, it's really like, it's a myth out there that all vegans live off of is iceberg lettuce and tomatoes. It is not true. But that's what I thought too. So anyways, the more I thought about it, the more I realized I was a hypocrite. And here's a paradox I want you to think about. Why do we call some animals pets and others dinner? Why do we fight for the rights of certain animals to be happy and loved and safe? Dogs and cats in America. But others, hey, slice their beaks off. Those damn hens, slice them off, fully conscious. Those pigs, those piglets, rip their testicles out. Screw them. There's a major hypocrisy going on. You can see the choice that I make. All I can ask you to do is put your head on your pillow every night knowing that you are not responsible for premeditated acts of cruelty. Again, the world is tough enough for us, and especially for the animals. Do we have to make it worse by eating them? There's no need in this day and age to consuming any animal product whatsoever. It's time to let it go.
So I noticed when I came in here that you're not a member of PETA. Why is that?
Full disclosure, 2002, 2005, in November, PETA funded my tour. I was never a PETA employee. I took money from them as a sponsor, independent contractor. I take money from anybody to do good things with it. I don't think it's wrong to take evil money and do good things with it. Now, PETA pulled their funding from me in November 2005 because they told me that education isn't important. Really? It's the only thing that ever made the world a better place was teaching somebody else about why they shouldn't discriminate and harm somebody else. But bottom line with PETA, the corporation that is PETA, with their corporate headquarters in Norfolk, Virginia, I'm a money taker and not a money maker. I told you during the speech, and I meant it, I have never once charged the school for a lecture. I've never once charged a professor to pay me to come into their classes. I've never once
Understandable. Take care.
I do not believe you should have to pay to learn about the truth. Now, PETA, it cost me about $64 grand a year to do this tour. 35 to 40 is to travel, hotels, rental cars. We also gave him $20,000 to put his speeches on DVD that he gave out for free to the students when he was supposed to charge them $10. When I first got these DVDs, people would always come up and say, hey, Gary, I want to share this with my boyfriend, my girlfriend, my dad. $1 a year. You can't give out a couple thousand DVDs to people that are actually not begging. Cares about animals, honestly. But her boobs don't make anybody go vegan. Now, when I used to bring this up with Ingrid, she used to say, do you know how many people see those billboards that see your speech? I'm like, oh, it's not even close. Millions more. Are you telling me guys are walking through Times Square, New York City? There's Pam on a billboard, and they're going, "Holy shit, look at those tits. Let's get some tofu." There's no. Listen. I understand why sex is used, why women are exploited to sell products. I don't like it. But if you tell guys, spray this on, and 12 women are gonna tackle you in the hallway and have sex with you, boy, guys, around, give me some Axe, spray it all over me. You tell a guy you're gonna get laid if you buy a Harley. Boy, guys want to go get a Harley. But you show Pam Anderson boobs, no. In, out. Doesn't do anything. And there's a lot more horrible things going on in PETA. Bad idea. Now, let me preface this. I do not challenge anybody's love for their dog or cat. If you're a sane person, sane people who have dogs and cats treat them like family members, unlike Michael Vick. But you brought up a major problem with them. Now, number one is they're carnivores. Now, this means we have to enslave and kill more cows, pigs, chickens, turkeys, and fish to feed the dogs and cats that we like more than the cows and the pigs. Now, hear me on this. I don't care what carnivores do on their own life. I got the Planet Life series, Planet Earth series. I watched the National Geographic.
I probably should, Gary.
Zebra to pieces doesn't bother me, but we have no business killing on their behalf.
Why doesn't it bother you? They feel just as you feel. You said earlier in the speech that you would tackle and try to fight off the bear to protect one of the students. Why? You don't know them. They're a meteor, in fact. So why would you protect some imposer over a zebra who's never imposed in his life? Doesn't bother you that the zebra's getting killed by a lion, but apparently some meat eater you're willing to risk your life for. Why? I don't know. It seems hypocritical to me.
I'll explain this in a simple way. Who's got a cat? Somebody got to have a cat? Did you ever go outside and kill birds for your cat? Thank you. Cat does it on his own. Nobody kills a bird for their cat, but you pay people at the slaughterhouse to kill birds for science diet, lions, and all the other pet food. Just like we pay people to kill chickens and pigs for us, because most people can't shove a knife in somebody else's throat. So, bad idea to have carnivorous pets. Now, good news, in this day and age, there's vegan dog food and cat food. Now, with this being said, I am not here to turn your dogs and cats into vegan. I did not get kicked out of 5 countries. By the way, the other 4 countries somebody had were England, Northern Ireland, Wales, and Scotland. Even though I never set foot on their land ever, they preemptively threw me out because they didn't like my essays. But I did not get arrested 13 times to turn your dogs and cats into vegans. But if you knew what was in dog food and cat food, let me mention the other problem with having dogs and cats: we overbreed them. Every year we murder 5 to 10 million dogs and cats in our shelters every year. These are now slaughterhouses. So there needs to be a moratorium too until every cage is empty. But those 5 to 10 million dogs and cats in shelters that we kill every year, raise your hand if you think they end up in a landfill. Well, once a week, the rendering truck comes around, picks them all up, and grinds them up, and sells them to Science Diet, Alpo, and Iams, and all the pet food companies. So we're making our dogs and cats cannibals, and they don't even eat real meat that they would normally eat. I never talked about chemicals in all the animals that people eat. This is for you, too. This is a whole nother issue on the side that I'm more focused about ethics and stuff. Okay, but they eat chemically laced meat. They eat what's left on the slaughterhouse floor, things that we don't eat. Every time there's a meat recall or a spinach recall for E. coli, you don't think that stuff ends up in landfills, do you? Science Diet, Alpo, and Iams. So this is why the vegan food is better for them. Now I want to show you something real quick. Actually, I knew this was going to happen this summer. I have never shown this before, but my dog Rex passed away in 2004. He was 15 years old. And Rex was a vegan for the last 9 years of his life. Nature's Recipe vegan dog food formula. Don't tell me Rex doesn't look wonderful, because he does. Yeah. When I traveled with him, and he came with me a lot on the road, I took him to vets when I had to. Every vet freaked out and said, "Oh my God, you can't make your dog a vegan, Gary, because you're vegan, he's a carnivore." I'm like, "Go ahead, do some blood work on him." They'd all do blood work, call me 3 or 4 days later, say, "Mr. Yourofsky, All the vets from the back room right now, we are astonished. Your dog is the most amazing health I've ever seen. I said, yeah, that's because my dog doesn't eat garbage. And when I say the garbage too, when I was at Thornapple Valley for 6 weeks, every day I saw a truck pull into the lot. The side of the truck said, meat not fit for human consumption. I watched the truck go into the alleyway every day, took 3 garbage bins and dumped them out. The garbage bins. Right off to the pet food companies. Wasn't hard to track that down. So this is why that vegan stuff is better. Now the vegan cat food, by the way, is not on the market. You got to go online. I think vegancats.com or evolution.com. But vegan dog food is at every pet food store that I've seen. It's called Nature's Recipe. Question? Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, we're out of time. You know what? Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate it.
Hmm.
Impact of that diet from various studies. We all love our cats and dogs. I've done videos on this before. I have had dogs, currently have Diego, who's super cute, and he does eat V-Dog, which I believe is a well-formulated vegan diet by a company who, if they were messing things up, would kind of act like they do live off souls, but it's nutrients and macronutrients, etc., that keeps their body running. So if it's not coming from animals, are they getting what they need? That's what it is at the end of the day. They don't live off souls. Some cats kind of act like they do live off souls, but it's nutrients and macronutrients, etc., that keeps their body running. So we'll see what this study shows. But this is a review right here that looked at quite a few studies. And so even though it's not 100% definitive, we're getting some pretty solid answers, especially on some of these other nutrients like taurine and carnitine, and whether or not these dogs are coming up short on them. The answer is very interesting. And I did just want to look through the study with you guys, just something a little bit different this time, and just show you sort of the whole body of the study, which might be more useful in sort of learning how to parse out studies yourself. So let's just get into it. The journal is MDPI, really the subjournal of that is Veterinary Sciences, and it is a systematic review. So it's not a meta-analysis. So it's not going to be looking at statistical, results as much, but it is going to be looking at a lot of different studies on cats and dogs here. There's more so in dogs, but we still have some good findings in cats that they show. And it is from some people out of Mexico and Australia. And so it's an interesting mix here. First interesting thing, I think, is just to see how they included the studies that they did and how many they included. They looked at quite a few. They're up around 100 here with their screening. And then they came down to 18 and then 16 final studies included in the review, which is quite a bit. And another really interesting thing is actually how much this topic has been researched over time. Really very few studies in the 90s and the 2000s. But then I don't know if it was everybody was cooped up with all their animals in the pandemic. And so they did a bunch of studies. No. But in 2021 and 2022, we got a lot here. And so we have the different bars is feline versus canine. And we really have a lot that came out in 2022, especially in dogs 8. So, the majority are in dogs, but there's some good ones in cats. And it is an over 20-page study. I figured I'd start on page 22 here. They only have a graphic of a cat. They don't have one of a dog. But some of these cross over in terms of the nutrients of concern, especially. We have taurine, which is one that a lot of these, really all of these commercial dog foods that are vegan and cat foods need to to have to be safe, especially in the cat. You can see that if these animals are not getting that, they're going to be having some retinal degradation. And so dogs can make some taurine to an extent, but cats really need to have it. And so they really both should have it to have healthy animals. So we have various nutrients here like vitamin D and vitamin A, and then these other amino acids, which is where it gets interesting. So potential plant-based diet deficiency, these ones that are listed, but that makes me want to go to the actual results that they found, because I was a little bit taken off guard with regards to the protein findings. Let me just scroll through 20 pages of stuff. In here, table 2, we have the various studies and what they looked at, the type of study that they were, which is interesting. Then we have various non-randomized experimental trials. We even have a couple experimental randomized trials here, which I think are good. Some of these are just vegetarian, but a lot of them are 100% vegan or plant-based. You see what they looked at. Some of them were interested in different things. This one did blood hematology and looked at pancreatic parameters, carnitine, B12. And then this one, for example, just looked at gastric emptying right over here. So they're looking at just how the stomach emptied on this vegetarian formula. And thankfully, table 3, they actually put a chart of various studies together and just showed what are the effects that these studies found. Simple little icons here. And we can see that body weight remained the same. A lot of things, actually, the essential amino acids from this study actually went up, which is pretty funny. And it's because these are planned diets. And so a lot of these cheap commercial dog foods are just throwing a bunch of, animal factory waste in there. Now, in addition to probably some starchy fillers, which dogs are adapted to eat more than wolves, which is interesting, shows that they've been living with us eating starch for a while. And so we have a couple things that were a little bit lower, like choline and betaine. But again, we're seeing some things go up, like taurine actually going up in this one on the diet that didn't even have meat in it, which is really interesting to think about. And a lot of other things were equal. Just for this one, they found, body weight, poop score, digestibility. It was all equal from these studies, and going on and on from the hematology. A lot of these are within reference range. And this one, with the general appearance, they found that the dogs were alert, responsive, and playful. There were some cases where not every single dog was in the reference range. I would be curious to see how this would compare to a control. In this particular study, apparently the dogs weren't within the reference range as much with carnitine. But this study actually found that the carnitine was higher. So we're finding a bit of a mixed signal here. Depends on what the diets that these dogs are being fed. But it shows that a pretty well-planned diet, you can be higher in carnitine than a meat-based diet. And comparatively, on average, we're seeing some higher taurine levels as well in these dogs. Now, here's a study that I actually did skim over. I saw come out. And it's interesting because they were saying, veterinary visits are lower, medication use is lower, all this stuff. Perception of health is higher, health disorders are lower. However, it was completely self-reported. So it could be accurate, and it could be the case that these dogs are actually healthier than the ones that are fed, meat in their diet as well. Or it could be just a situation that the dog owners are really proud and they just believe that they're doing better. And you have seen sometimes there's like that dog owner with that old decrepit dog that is basically like a zombie Muppet that probably, is at the end of its life, and they're all like, oh no, little Skippy's perfect. So there might be a little bit of that projection, but in general, it's looking good. And then I do also like, in terms of dogs, to wrap up dogs here, we have this breakdown of 4 randomized control trials here. They're saying a moderate degree of evidence, which is actually quite high, given the standards that we have here. That's like 3 out of 4 stars, essentially, that their body weight and body condition was good. Body weight condition was generally equivalent to control animals' meat-based diets and within the healthy range, which is solid. And then these other ones, slightly lower quality of evidence, but still the evidence is reasonable for 4 observational studies. This one, 2 randomized control trial for the taurine. And they're saying, contrary to expectations, plasma and whole blood taurine were increased in dogs fed plant-based diets. So very interesting finding. Then B12 here, from 2 studies at least, were found to be within the reference range for dogs, and they had been fed vegan diets over a moderate to long period. And it's the same situation as people being supplemented B12. They're supplemented B12. It's very likely they're going to be doing just fine. And then folate was fine, and iron as well was mostly fine. They're saying long-term, mostly within the reference range. So good findings with dogs. I'm happy about that. I've talked about in the past how we had a little miniature wiener dog who had a life expectancy of 12, and we actually started feeding him V-Dog or other vegan foods, transferring into V-Dog whenever that came out. And he lived to be 17, so he lived 5 years past life expectancy, which is pretty solid, eating a fully vegan diet, and some things like bad breath got a little bit better. And now, though, let's go to cats, which I have always felt conflicted about because they're just so obviously pretty much pure carnivores. And so any nutrient failure could be a little bit more exaggerated in them. And I have heard, good stories about cats fed on a vegan diet, but there could be bad cases out there I haven't heard about. I'm not sure. I want to be sort of neutral on that topic. But we can just look at this chart right here, which is, what is the impact on cat health with the various studies here. These are all observational. Unfortunately, we don't have randomized control trials, but it's still giving us an idea. But we're saying, 2 out of 4 stars or 1 out of 4 stars for the quality of evidence. And those findings are slightly mixed. Basically, 2 studies found that taurine levels were fine, and 1 study found that they weren't. So clearly, it's possible to get fine taurine levels. But if somebody is feeding their cat a food that is not legit and has enough taurine, then there could be an issue. So I feel like you need to make sure there's actually enough in there. Vitamin B12, cobalamin was generally found to be within reference range, so that's solid. And folate, this is an interesting one that I had not really considered, being somebody who doesn't own cats. That is something that we get on a vegan diet, and just generally higher. We have lower deficiency rates as humans in folate. I believe Michaela Peterson on a carnivore diet just got a folate deficiency and was like, I need to eat organ meat, which is yes, actually where cats are generally getting folate from. Well, this isn't a highly scientific page on it. It just highlights some of the basics. That folate in the diet of cats comes from an array, including those liver meats. In these commercial cat foods, probably also yeast, wheat, and some green veggies, and then grass. Cats are known to chew on grass. I'm not sure if that makes a nutritional difference or not, but it's something that is really high in plant foods compared to meat itself. But then for a carnivorous animal, they're going to be getting it from organ meat, so they just have to make sure that is actually being taken care of. And so going back to the study, it was the case that folate was significantly decreased in cats because some of these cat food companies or cat food supplements might not be putting it in there yet. They obviously need to do that. So I would say if you have a cat, make sure you got that in there. But this source does even say that it's not unusual for felines to experience deficiency in folic acid, and this is not an article about vegan diets. So it appears that this is an issue across various cat diets. And again, there's like 25 pages to this study, so there's a lot of good points that we won't be able to cover. But looking to the discussion, it is interesting to see that 2022 study just reported widely positive health benefits, going all the way to less eating poop, which is definitely something that I had to prevent our previous wiener dog Milo from doing. He loved to eat poop his whole life. It's just a lifelong habit. But they do say it's a field that is getting more attention, especially because these food companies are seeing the market for it. And so when we're looking at a dog food here, I just went to VDog's website. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but they actually have something that says my vet doesn't support a vegan diet for my dog. What do I do? And they actually have a handy sheet here that you can give your vet. And it also shows what ingredients are in there. And so this is really interesting because we can see, yes, they actually did throw taurine in there. This is what you want to make sure when you're looking at the back. They do have vitamin B12. They do have that carnitine and vitamin D. So they've got the sort of four, especially that you want to have in there. They've gone even further and they've added things like extra methionine in there. And so this is solid. Here's another option which I've heard of in the past, which is probably a cheaper alternative to VDOG, which I know can rack up, especially if you have a larger dog. Thankfully, Diego is like 10 pounds. But this is when you're making your own food, you add to it. It's called VeggieDog. It's a powder, and it does also have vitamin B12 and taurine, and it doesn't have carnitine. It is the case that dogs make their own carnitine. I still think it's better to have it in there. I think that it couldn't hurt to add it here. And it's cool to see more of these products pop up. It looks like this is a European one called V Complete, and this one does have a bunch of things in it. It's got your B12, your carnitine, and your taurine, as well as some other, methionine, tryptophan. And you can actually look in detail at what it has. It also has folic acid. And then the conclusion: this review has found that there's no convincing evidence of major impacts of vegan diets on dog or cat health. And then again, saying though that there is a limited number of studies, and maybe they could be longer, and that there's even some benefits for animals arising from the result of feeding them vegan diets. And maybe some of that's because it's a little bit less from the commercial food waste stream. I mean, we have various slaughterhouse byproducts and stuff like that are going into these animal feeds, which I think is way better than killing more animals to be feeding these other animals. But it can show that maybe there's some stuff getting in there that is not the healthiest for these animals. And just to elaborate on that, again, not the most scientific source, but at least according to somebody who wrote a book on this, the leading diseases in dogs today, like cancer, heart disease, and kidney disease, are almost unheard of before the rise of commercial pet food. We don't need to get into it, but there is a lot of information about just the risks that dogs undergo eating your standard pet food from the store. So just wanted to share this as a response to all the people coming for vegans. We talk about microplastics and chicken nuggets, etc. So there's probably a little bit of that stuff going on. And they do add that the beneficial findings were relatively consistent across several studies, and therefore should not be disregarded, and that there's really urgent need for more studies on this. But finally, this brings me to that point that I was trying to make for guardians wishing to feed their pets vegan diets at the current time. Based on available evidence, it is recommended that commercially produced vegan diets are used, since these are less likely to lead to nutrient imbalances. I know a lot of people are cooking for their animals, but you want to make sure you have at least one of those well-formulated additives that you put in, which is probably similar to what they're putting into something like VDOG, where it's got the carnitine, it's got the taurine, etc., checking all the boxes, B12. So, well, I've been in support of especially feeding dogs a vegan diet. I was never pushing it really that hard, being like, oh, dogs should be fed a vegan diet and all that stuff. But now I feel like with all of this evidence in one place, there's a clear picture that dogs especially, and then cats,
To be Well, I don't know. I'll investigate more cat food, vegan stuff later. Don't feel like it right now.